Welcome back to the Max Reality. If you've seen my face before, then you know the drill. But if you're new here, my name's Morgan, and I love talking all things reality TV. And today is the 7th and final day of Shark Fest, which was me speedily going through episodes 1 through 7 of Shark Tank to catch up to where we currently are in the season for my recap videos, which means today we are going over episode 7, season 15 of Shark Tank. Our sharks for the episode are Barbara, Damon, Kevin, Lori, and Mark, once again giving us a classic tank. This time I don't have Robert to put in the middle though, so I'll have to think on that. Our first pitch of the night is Bunny Eyez. Entrepreneurs Jenny, Stacy, and Andrea walked into the tank looking for $200,000 for 10% of their tippable and flippable reading glasses. Here's a video showing how the tilting and flipping works. They actually have 2 different utility patents on the different hinges that allow the glasses to do that different tilting and flipping. It cost them around $4.30 to make, and they retail the glasses between $35 and $40. They started the business in the summer of 2018, and their lifetime sales are $5 million. They really didn't give us a definitive if they were profitable or not. They did say that they're completely self-funded and have no debt, and that they recouped their initial investment after the first year, but they didn't say necessarily that they're still profiting and making money and all that. So of course we get a fun little sales ramp because the sharks have been super into them the last couple of years. In 2018 they did $600,000 in sales. In 2019 they did $1.9 million. In 2020 they did $1.3 million. In 2021 $700,000, and then in 2022 $400,000.
What propelled you initially to get that big bump of sales? And then what happened to slide them the other way?
So they say that what really propelled them in the beginning is a bunch of celebrities found them without them even trying. Like Hoda went on the Today Show and showed them off. I saw Brandy and Ray J wore them and were promoting them at one point. And that just really took their business off right from the beginning. They say there were 2 main reasons why the business started suffering. Number 1 was an issue a lot of businesses had, aka the supply chain in 2020. They said they were getting broken stuff or they weren't able to get enough of their stuff quick enough, and that really hurt their sales. On top of that, unfortunately, their dad was diagnosed with cancer, and they were having to give a lot of attention and focus and energy to taking care of him, obviously, but that did mean that they weren't giving attention to the business when it needed it to grow. Unfortunately, their dad did pass away from cancer in 2022. Damon gets to ask our favorite age-old question, why do you need a shark? They say the biggest thing they need is distribution. They're really wanting to get in big box stores to make as many channels as possible for selling their sunglasses. They say they just want to get their reach as big as possible.
Every entrepreneur that comes in here wants their reach as big as possible. They want to be everywhere. What's your actual plan to market them to get to your goal?
Pretty much they think that if they can just get these out there into stores and have people see them, that once people try them, they'll see how great they are, and then they won't want to buy any other glasses. Easy peasy, no marketing needed. That last bit might have been an ad-lib from me, I don't know. Then Kevin asks if they've thought about licensing it at all, because apparently there are some just major players in the eyeglasses space who make the frames for every single person who distributes frames. And they said they have had very preliminary talks with them, and that is something they may be interested in. Kevin just has no real response to this and just says he's not their shark, and he goes out. And unfortunately, he's not the only one. Mark's thing is he says it's going to be hard trying to market to this demographic. He brings up how Hoda wearing them on the Today Show is great because the age demographic that's still watching live broadcast TV like that does tend to skew older, but people on social media tend to skew younger. So you can't just be trying to go viral on social media. You'd need, I guess, to do ads on TV. I think that's what he was trying to say. I don't really agree with Mark on all this, so I don't even 100%. I understand what he's saying, I guess. I just don't agree. Yes, the demographic for reading glasses is older, but I don't agree necessarily that social media won't get this to them, because he even brings up Facebook, for example, and I don't know where Mark has been, but I'm pretty sure the demographic for Facebook also tends to skew older. So I'm not saying I don't agree with him about that, but I don't agree with that it will be harder to market to the older demographic. And maybe that's not what he was exactly saying. That's just what I took from it. I could have been kind of wrong. His other big thing was just the fact that this does need to be demonstrated for somebody to really understand why the product is so great, which does make the whole selling it thing harder, which I do agree with. And he's also out.
Oh, come on back.
Come on, Jenny.
Come on back,
Come on,
Mark.
Jenny.
Barbara hates the idea of them going into retail. To Mark's point, it's something that needs to be demonstrated, and just having it sitting on a shelf in a big box store isn't going to do it. Like, they talked about paying for, those little screens that you can get and certain displays that would help demonstrate it. But, because they want to do the retail thing and Barbara's super against it, she is our third shark to go out. Damon also jumps into the train of just thinking that going retail is the completely wrong way to go.
Made me kind of go.
But Damon is interested. His big idea is that they need to link up with grandfluencers. That is not a word I've heard a singular day of my life. I have been on the internet so long, never heard that word. If you've heard it, please let me know. I guess it's I know it's a thing. I've seen older aged influencers. I just didn't know they called themselves grandfluencers. I didn't know. Anyway, he gives them an offer of $200,000 for 20% plus a $2 royalty per pair of glasses sold until he's paid back his $200,000 investment. And after that, his equity, I did it again! His equity will drop to 15%. Mark makes such a face after Damon makes his offer, and I just have to put it in here because I thought it was so funny, and he never says anything about it. We just get this face and no context, so. They then ask if Lori has anything she would like to add, and she just piggybacks off what all the other sharks have said. She hates the retail idea and says it's something that needs to be demonstrated. She also says that if we're up to her idea would be to do a licensing play, and since that doesn't really seem like what they want to do, Damon is the better shark, and he's made a good offer, and she thinks they just need to go with them, so she steps out.
All right, guys. What are you going to do?
They say that they're big fans of the show, and that they know better than to just try to haggle over 2%, and Damon is wearing their signature color of pink, so they decide to make a deal with Damon for $200,000 for 20%, plus a $2 royalty on every pair sold until he gets back his $200,000, then it drops to 15% equity. I don't know why they love to give these complicated offers and then I gotta read them all out like that. Also, when they say they watch the show, Damon's response is just so funny to me and I have to put it in here.
Damon, we watch the show religiously, of course, because what entrepreneur doesn't? How else are we supposed to learn?
I watch it too.
Right?
I don't know why. It makes me laugh so much to just picture Damon sitting down on the couch, getting ready to watch Shark Tank, watching himself. I don't know why that's such a funny image to me. Final thoughts. Number one, I think Jenny looks so much like the actress Megan Mullally, and I need somebody to validate me on this. I'm going to put them up side by side on here. I don't, the minute I saw her, something about I think it's within her eyes especially, that was the first thing I thought of. I was like, this could be Megan Mullally's cousin. I don't know. I need somebody else to see this. As far as the product goes, I think it's really neat. I really like the idea of being able just to flip one down to lay on your side, because that is a very big problem I face as a glasses wearer. They do also have glasses that you can take that are the frames, and you can get your prescription in them. They only have 2 different styles right now, but if they ever get some more styles going, I would love to lay down and not have these things do that. I think the only criticism I'd even have of it is that they are a little expensive, especially just compared to an average reading glass. You can pick them up at Walmart for $1.50 or something like that, or you can buy them in packs for $12. But I do get why this one would be more. There's more technology in it, but it's still, I think if it were my product, I would be wanting Lori to help me with just licensing it. That's always my opinion on most of the products like these. It just always seems easier to license it and do what our man from the Paddle Smash pitch did. That man knew when to sell his business and sit at home and take a check. And like I said that episode, I'll say it again this episode, more people need to just learn to do that and be okay with it, because that sounds so good. I do get that not everybody is like me though, and some people like the idea of owning a business and a brand like that. And so I do think Damon was a great shark. I think he's right. I don't know what Mark was saying about, well, nobody older uses any form of social media. Like, it, just like all things in life, and like I say a lot about Shark Tank, it varies. And I've seen lots of older influencers, especially on TikTok, and we just had the Golden Bachelor. Like, put these glasses in the hands of every single person that was on Golden Bachelor. Get them in the show next season somehow. That is what you do right there. I guess technically if they get them in the show, they're going back to the TV thing, which does go back to Mark's thing about the demographic thing. We're not going to go there though right now. Moving on to our second pitch of the night, the Fidget Game. Brandy walked into the tank looking for $500,000 for 10% of her game that helps kids learn to read.
I can't wait for you to justify that number.
I'm so excited, Barbara.
Before she gets into any of the sales or the numbers, she tells us that Barbara is the whole reason she decided to start her company, because Barbara's story inspired her. Apparently, one day Brandy came home from work and her husband just out of the blue said he wanted a divorce. This obviously sent her into a deep depression, and one day she was just laying on the couch scrolling TikTok and came across Barbara's story, and she thought, if she can do this after heartbreak, I can do it too. If you don't know Barbara's story, it's great. I'll put a link to a TikTok of her talking about it down in the description below, but pretty much she had a boyfriend who she started a real estate company with, and he ended up leaving her for the secretary, and they had to divide the business, and he was like, you'll never be able to do this without me. And then she obviously proved him wrong. It's a lot better if you go listen to her say it, but if you don't want to have to go over there, that's the long and short of it. Once again, a pretty self-explanatory product. I'm not going to explain all the rules for the games. If you're really that interested, go and check them out, but pretty much she's just made some new games that help kids learn how to read. The two biggest ones she sells are the Fidget Game Sight Word Edition and Word Pop. The Fidget Game cost her $3.89 to make, and Word Pop cost her $3.45, but both the games retail for $29.99. She even gives us her customer acquisition cost, which is $6.80, and also lets us know her net margin is 25% on average, but last month it was actually 32%.
So you've got to be making a boatload of money.
Yeah.
And the answer to that is yes, she is. They've only been in business 13 months, and they've done $3.2 million in sales. They are also profitable. This year, she's planning to profit $1.25 million.
Let me guess. Your husband's calling out for a date.
So Lori asks the obvious question that we're all wondering, how in the world did you get that many sales that fast? She explains that her strategy was to create a council of teachers, and she sent it out to all of them to get their feedback and ask them what other games she should make. And this council of teachers just completely blew it up on TikTok, and it became the #1 reading game in 6 months on Amazon. Then Lori counteracts her completely normal, smart, good question with a typical Lori question. She asks, are you the only reading game or the only one like yours? Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think Lori's not smart. I mean, obviously she is. She's, just sometimes the questions she asks piss me off more than I can even explain. Questions like this. I'm like, Lori, what do you mean are you the only reading game? I hope it just came across weird, because what do you mean are you the only reading game?
What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Reading games have been around. I was playing them on CD-ROM in the 90s. Like, I don't know, that made me so mad. Sometimes she just asks questions that are like, girl, are you with us? She says she is the only game that's like her game, but a lot of people have been trying to copy her, but the one thing they haven't been copying is the resources she provides within the games to help with the learning process, and she says that's what brings the customers back. I'm just quoting what she said, don't take my word for this. Then Lori reels it back in though by asking the golden age-old question, why do you need a shark? She says there are 2 main reasons. then gives more than 2 reasons. Number 1, she wants to do product expansion. She wants to make the game pre-K through 6th grade so she can take kids all the way through their learning journey. Then she wants to move on to gamifying the whole curriculum. After that, she wants to go international and translate the game into other languages. And the final step is she wants to get into the English as a second language market.
Why would you need a shark to do those items, though?
She says the main thing she needs from a shark is mentorship. Right now, she's doing everything by herself, and she wants help with building a structure around her and hiring the right people that will allow her to get back to focusing on more of the creative side of the business. And Barbara likes this answer and offers her $500,000 for 20%.
I would be very happy at 20%, honestly.
That's like getting all your money back in day one, Barbara.
So just to repeat some math, in case anybody forgot, she's done $3.2 million in sales. This offer values the company at $2.5 million. On top of that, she was profiting $1.25 million. And if my math doesn't mistake me, 20% of that is $250,000. So, almost like a guaranteed return on investment. Brandy decides to counter for 15%, which is a lot closer, as that valuation puts it at $3.3 million, and Barbara agrees, so they make a deal for $200,000 for 15%. Final thoughts. Number 1, we learn that Barbara, Damon, and Kevin are all dyslexic. That's just a little sidebar. And then I had completely forgotten that Kevin's first big business that he sold was the Learning Company. So also, for Lori to ask if there are other reading games... Sometimes I just don't. I never want her to leave this show, though. If she left, I would cry. I also was surprised that none of the sharks felt like she was trying to do too much all at once. I feel like that's a common thing they say. It felt like we didn't get to hear a lot of the other sharks kind of speak, because Barbara immediately connected with her and ended up making her an offer. But I don't know, that was the first thing I thought. It sounds like she's kind of everywhere, and she just kind of needs to focus. So I grew up on all the different, late 90s, early 2000s, different educational computer games, whether they be reading, math, all the good stuff. So it's not like this is anything that's a new concept. I wanted to go look at her information on the science of reading just because I don't really know a whole lot about that, and I was interested. And none of the resources for the science portion of this stuff is clickable because the image is an image. It's not actual text on the website. So I did just Google it. I am not an expert on this, as I'm not an expert on many things. But I mean, while I think this is a fun addition to, another great way to help kids learn to read, maybe, or maybe not, I have no idea because I don't know anything about this. I don't think this is, she kept emphasizing that she wants to cure childhood illiteracy, pretty much. She didn't say that word for word, but that's pretty much what, she was getting at. And not to be rude, but like a reading game like this isn't going to fix the main roots of a lot of issues. Like I said, though, I think it's great if it helps a kid learn how to read. That's awesome, and I'm all for it. So, our third pitch of the night is Rekkie. Brothers Fletcher, David, and Henry walked into the tank looking for $300,000 for 10% of their smart snow goggles that help you stay connected with your friends while you're on the slopes. Here's what they look like. As you can see, it shows you different things like your miles per hour, your direction. It also shows you your friend's direction and the distance they are from you. You can also check your texts, you can change your music, and it has a long distance radio in case you're somewhere where phone service is low. So the whole idea around this is that with these goggles, you won't have to pull out your phone, because when you're out doing all the winter sports, it's hard to use your phone with the bulky gloves and all the other equipment. So now it'll all just be contained within this nice little headset. When they first started making them, it cost them $160 to make. Now they have it down to $130, and they're hoping after some time and scale, they can get it down to $100. They retail it for $349. This was another business this episode that had their customer acquisition cost. Theirs is $120, but they say their average order value is $475. They launched the product last year, and so far they have $175,000 in sales. They didn't really say whether they were profitable or not, but they don't have any other partners and they have no debt. So Lori wants to know exactly how the goggles help you find your friends, and they explain that they also have an app, and you and your friends sign up for the app and make a ski group within it, and then the phone, I assume this part, uses your location to add you to the little spots on the goggles, which you saw in the picture. I'll put it back up, but you'll see little initials and a little arrow, and that's where your friend is directionally, and then there's also the distance for how far they are actually from you. Barbara, who is our resident skier of the group, says it wouldn't really help her so much to know the distance and direction. What would help more is to know the name of the run the friend is on and what chairlift feeds into it. So she asks if that's something that the goggles can do. They say they're wanting that to be in the next update, but at the moment, if you want, you can use the app on your phone, and that has the names of the runs and all that.
But you still have to pull out your phone.
Yeah, but aren't you back to stage one again? Putting out your phone?
Then it's time for Mark to ask the real questions.
So guys, who's the tech dweeb?
We find out that Henry has a mechanical and aerospace engineering degree from Princeton.
That's nothing.
After that, he worked in Silicon Valley as a research engineer for a car company, and the other brothers have worked in private equity, aka business dweebs. So Henry is the only one doing this full time. The other brothers have different businesses they run that are gonna do between 8 and 10 million this year. So Lori just right away is like, I'm not a cold weather sports enthusiast, so I'm out. I love that for her. That's great. Kevin is worried about the other brothers being distracted with their more successful businesses, but he wants to make them an offer anyway, and of course it can't just be a simple offer. He offers them $300,000 for 20%, but also he wants a 20% payout on every dollar that leaves the business that pays the brothers. So anytime they want to pay themselves $1, he gets 20 cents paid to him. Barbara's biggest thing is still being able to see the run names, and she asks when they think they're going to finally have that added to the goggles.
That's part of the R&D funding, because that is a...
She says in her opinion that's the most important feature, and since they don't have it, she's out.
That's just a software update.
It's just, but they don't have it.
And while Barbara doesn't see it for them, Mark sees the potential and offers them $300,000 for 15%. After the brothers have a brief little sidebar, they say they really want to work with Mark, but they just can't go above 12.5%.
Why?
Why?
They say their reasoning for this is because they see the potential in the technology overall. Like, yes, it's great for skiers, but they also want to use it for military and law enforcement. Honestly, at least they said it. A lot of these technology companies like to be like, oh no, it's just for silly fun times. After this argument though, Mark agrees, and they end up making a deal for $300,000 for 12.5%. Final thoughts. I've never been skiing a day in my life, so I don't know anything about it. I can't imagine that it would be hard to get the phone out with the big old gloves and whatnot. I mean, I know that even just from winter time when you wear big old gloves. But I don't know, I would love to hear from somebody if they really think this is really cool, or how much it really adds to the experience or not, because I just have no concept, honestly. No idea. My only other thought is Mark is invested in multiple of these super weird technology companies. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm just pointing that out. Our fourth and final pitch of the night is Yum Crumbs. Father and son, Delson and Zayden, walked into the tank looking for $100,000 for 10% of their new take on sprinkles. Something I thought was interesting was his son was there for their little beginning pitch and to say what the business was, but then he sent him to the back for the negotiation parts. Just a little tidbit for you. So here's some different examples of it being used. They say it's kind of like if cookies and sprinkles had a kid. It has kind of a cookie texture, but with the way they've broken it down, it can be used in a similar way that sprinkles are used, as you can see from the different example photos. So in the tank, they said the retail bag cost them 42 cents to make, and they sold it for $5.49. But when I go on their website, The main price I see is $15.99. A bunch of things are $12.99 because they're on sale right now. So I don't know if they upped the prices or if the bags are bigger or different. I don't know. Update on the $5.99 thing. I think maybe those are the bags that are in craft stores. I don't know. They also look smaller than the bags pictured on the website. It's hard to tell that though, just from looking at them. I can't see what the size of the bags. I don't know why I'm pointing. You can't see what screen I'm looking at. It does appear that the craft store bag is a lot smaller though. So that might be the pricing on that. I don't know because I don't know what craft store they're at. So they also wholesale 50-pound boxes. Those cost them $42 to make, and they sell them for $282. He says the majority of their sales come from business-to-business transactions. For example, he has a deal with Wawa because they put his Yum Crumbs on one of their bundt cakes, and he says even the sales on their websites are mostly like small bakeries or cake shops who use it for decorations in their goods. They've been in business 3 years, and their lifetime sales are $1.7 million. And once again, we get a little sales ramp. First year it was $220,000. Next year it was $575,000. Last year it was $462,000. Year to date they're at $505,000, and they're projecting $900,000 because they got a PO from one of the largest craft stores. I was curious to the fact that no one mentioned the little dip there. I mean, granted, it wasn't necessarily a major dip, but no one brought it up. I was like, he did say it out of order though, so maybe it was harder for them to notice the dip. You just think they'd be paying attention to that sort of thing though, but I'm not the shark, obviously. He says he started the whole business by just going door to door to different cake shops and trying to sell them his Yum Crumbs to put on their different products. Mark obviously loves this story. He loves a door-knocking business story, and he literally has this whole montage of being like, so you went out there and you made those sales and you did it. And he's like clapping at one point. It's fantastic. It's such a classic Mark moment.
Cake shops.
Once again, we do have a profitable company. He says that they should be making $200,000 off of the $900,000 they'll make this year. He says what he really needs the money for is to expand their kitchen because at the moment, they're at max capacity, and places like Wawa want to order more from them and expand the flavors they have, but they know that they don't have the capacity to fill those orders. So after he says all these great things, profitable company, more places want to order from him, unfortunately, sharks start going out. Lori says she really prefers to be in the business-to-consumer market space versus the business-to-business, and because of that, she's out. Mark, after hyping him up so much, is like, you're incredible, but I just don't know how to help you with expanding a kitchen. And honestly, I feel like I want to know, and I don't know if it was asked, maybe it was, they cut stuff out, if maybe Delson has the knowledge for how to expand the kitchen. He just doesn't have the funds, because really the way he said it too was like, I'm here for the money because I want to do this with the money. You know? So I feel like Mark could have helped him, especially after hyping him up so much. Like, what? But that's okay, because after those two go out, a bidding war immediately breaks out. First, Damon jumps in, offering $100,000 for 25%. Then Kevin jumps in, saying, I'll do it for 20. Then Damon comes back, saying, I'll do it for 15. Then, in an interesting plot twist, Barbara says that she'll go in with Damon for 25%.
We don't need her in there.
But once again this season, Barbara stands up for her worth. She's like, you do need me because I actually know the baking space. And I know that Delson has what most bakers don't. And that's the fact that he knows how to sell his product.
That's years of selling cars.
Kevin says he'll go down to 12.5% and says he also has a lot of experience in the baking space and reminds us of his older Shark Tank investment, Wicked Good Cupcakes. Damon decides, oh wait, maybe I do need Barbara, and re-offers the 25% for both of them and starts bringing up her older Shark Tank investment, Daisy Cakes. All of a sudden he's like, oh, yeah, maybe I do need some help with that. It's so funny. After Damon brings up Barbara's Daisy Cakes investment, Kevin kind of has a we all sing moment, again reminding us of Wicked Good Cupcakes.
Do you remember Wicked Good Cupcake?
After the little squabble dies down, Delson decides to counter Damon and Barbara for 20%, and they end up making a deal for $100,000 for 20%. Final thoughts. This is getting added to my list of Shark Tank products to try. I really need to make this a physical list one day, because this list is just up here, and up here is not trustworthy, but it looks delicious. Honestly, when I was looking for product photos and stuff on their website, I came across a PB&J flavored Yum Crumb, and I've been thinking about it this entire time I've been trying to film this, because it just sounds so good. I keep picturing it on a chocolate cake. Sure, that's so good. I also think it's really smart what he did, starting out by just going to bake shops and then slowly making his way through that way instead of just trying to sell this one by one to customers. Like, very smart. It's obviously done super well for them, and I hope that Damon and Barbara can help them just grow and flourish even more. And that, my friends, is a wrap of episode 7, season 15 of Shark Tank. And it is also a wrap on Shark Fest. We made it, everybody. If you made it to the end of my last video, you know that I am very sick. I'm still very sick. I'm the same amount of sick. But we're pushing through because like I said last time, I committed to this. And I'm so proud of myself for finishing it, because I'm so one of those people to make a plan and a project and start it halfway and abandon it. So I'm giving myself my flowers right now. Like I've said a couple times before, the normal regular schedule for Shark Tank recap videos will be Mondays and Fridays. They'll be on the same week. And then on opposite weeks from that, it'll be a regular Wednesday video. So Monday and Friday will be the last 2 most recent episodes of Shark Tank. Wednesday video, you know, so on and so forth. As you know, if you watch the show real time, Shark Tank is one of those shows that likes to take a random 2-week break, not really warn anybody about it. So obviously the upload schedule will ebb and flow with that. If there's only one episode to cover in that amount of time, I'll probably just post it on Friday, because Friday's the better video day. I don't make the rules. I'm not Google. And it's finally time to wrap things up with my usual questions. Have you seen or heard of any of these products? Have you tried one of these products? Are you going to try one of these products now that you've heard about it here? Let me know all that and more in the comments. And until then, I'll see y'all in the next one.